Just great text messaging and an absolutely wonderful radio show. As I said at the tag out, I so wanted this to be a great show, and it's much better than I ever hoped. This goes back, and first of all, special thanks to Jonathan Flora. And this goes back, and there's been so much talk about people having high-degree black belts in Jiu Jitsu and in karate, and actually calling a black belt in weapons. And 90 is going to be the high today. It's record 78. It's going to be breezy and cooler tomorrow, 67 and 74 on Monday. So Briscoe's a guy I have known for I don't know how long, and I knew this is the first time we've ever met. We've talked a lot on the phone. He's a jiu-jitsu player, practicer, practitioner, and he brought his instructor and Connors with us. And one of the things that Jonathan, always covering us, he said, Peter, we got to plug the guy. 10th Planet Denver, 10th Planet in Longmont. Oh, so you got two schools?
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't sir me. Not in this room.
That's brother.
Not in this room. And his phone number, write it down. If you could put this up for us on our web, 720-443-0651, 720-443-0651. We'll do it about 100 times. And before we get out of here, you started wrestling as a little kid. Your dad's a coach.
Yeah, I was 4.5 when he finally let me on the mats.
See, is it true? That's what we do.
Sorry, I love that. 4.5 before he finally let me on the mats.
But if you talk to great skiers and they tell you, hey,
the beginning.
I run the kids program at 10th Planet Denver. We take them as young as 3.5.
That's awesome.
Why 10th Planet?
Well, Eddie says, because our jiu-jitsu's out of this world.
All right.
So how is it when because there's always going to be the stereotype, it's just violent. They stop it. That's why I asked earlier about the jiu-jitsu versus karate, the gentle way and the gentle art. To me, art is a big word as opposed to way. Can you explain that and the beauty of this art, especially when you're talking to a mom that's going to put her kid in there like this?
So, the reason it's the gentle way, and the reason it's where you should be putting your kids as far as making them bully-proof and giving them self-defense and help them build confidence. If your kid's in karate and he's being bullied at school, the answer that he is taught is to kick the guy in the face, right? Or punch him in the face, because karate is a striking art. The reason they call jiu-jitsu the gentle art is because I can put you to sleep without breaking your face, without breaking your bones, without damaging you permanently. I can take you down, control you on the ground, and if you refuse to stop doing whatever it is that you're doing, then we put you to sleep. And when you wake up, you get the decision, do you want to continue to do this? You want to go back to sleep? And, sometimes you got to black somebody's eye. I learned that the hard way in high school. Sure. I choked a kid out in a fight, and he didn't even remember what happened, so he kept wanting to fight me. I had to spend my senior year running from him. We'd show up at a party, and I'd have a couple of girls, and there'd be a keg there, and they'd be like, oh, this is great. And somebody'd be like, hey, Zaren's here. And I'd be like, oh, we should leave. This party sucks. And, I ended up, the second time I fought him, I learned my lesson. I gave him a couple black eyes, so when he woke up, he'd remember what happened and not keep bothering me.
Here's one. Everybody had a bully. I don't care who you are.
John Wilson. I
Bingo,
remember it
see?
to this day.
Yeah.
4th grade in Puerto Rico. And I finally hit back, and we became buddies.
Yep.
It just took a hit back respect thing.
Who was your bully?
I had 2 older brothers.
Oh, that's...
So, because I'm like, it's interesting, I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And so, I wrestled 1 year in elementary, and then all through junior high I wrestled, and 10th grade I wrestled. I stopped after that because I had a part-time job working on cars.
Okay.
But my 2 older brothers probably, and then I grew up skateboarding, and that's rough on
skating's not a crime.
It's not a crime, and you take a lot of punishment. I don't remember actually having some bullies. I mean, there was some kids at my school I was definitely scared to death of. Thank goodness they didn't pick on me. And maybe in hindsight, thinking about it, maybe the reason some of those kids didn't pick on me, I had 2 older brothers, And, I grew up when I can remember there's at least 2 or 3 of the tough dudes at my school in my grade. They had older brothers too, So some people knew, like, hey, this can turn into a really big situation bad with the different people fighting. So,
Well, then, I'm afraid to ask if you had a bully.
Yeah, I had bullies. Yeah, I was little. You know, I was 103 my freshman year in high school. They changed the weight classes. I wrestled 100 my sophomore year, 103 again my junior year, 112 pounds my senior year. So I was a small
little guy,
kid.
yeah.
And if you're small and you got a big mouth, you know, somebody's going to try to close it for you.
I get paid a lot of money for what I used to get my ass kicked for. Mine, I mean, I remember it. I mean, so well. Yeah. Fat Freddie Miller.
Yeah, yeah. I had a couple of you know, elementary school was rough. I remember I was crying myself to sleep in 5th grade, and my mom came in, and you know, basically I'd been wrestling since I was 4.5, competing since I was 5, and my folks had kind of always told me, you know, turn the other cheek. It's you know, turn the other cheek, you know, talk to a teacher, yada, yada, yada. But after seeing how upset I was, my mom said, you know, you got the right to defend yourself. And I said, I do. and you know, the next day at school, I threw 3 kids in head and arms and beat the crap out of them. They got called into the principal's office,
They
and I
understand.
never looked back.
I made that kid understand.
You know, that was it. There was a turning point in 5th grade where I stopped taking shit and I started fighting back.
See, I'm so old that television hit, black and white TV, and my dad rented this place that it was a 3-decker, and there was families on top floor, middle floor, and then my folks, and my Uncle Gene is home from the war, and my grandma lived with us, and she was born in the old country, and the neighborhood was interesting. And this kid's dad had a TV. And Howdy Doody, what a weird story. Everybody wanted to see Howdy Doody. Well, my Uncle Gene, who ended up taking me to learn to box, Freddie Miller punched me and sent me home. And he was 2 years older, I think. And so my uncle was upset that I was crying and everything. And he said, take your hand, make your fist as hard as you can make it, put it behind your back. And he said, walk back across there. And he said, right off of Negley Avenue in Pittsburgh, if people know where that is, he said, hit him as hard as you can in the stomach. And so I went back across the street, and he said, I don't know what he said. And I hit him. And he did that thing where they make that ee noise. And we called them Jagger bushes. They were bushes with needles.
On
Yeah.
them, yeah.
And he sat back down in the bushes. And he looked at me, he said, ee, and he said, you can't come see Howdy Doody. I'm heartbroken. So I went back and told my uncle. I said, they won't let me come see Howdy Doody. And my uncle attended bar in this place up in Negley Avenue. So he took me up there, and my uncle he'd been in 1 or 2, and he turned the TV on to Howdy Doody, and he had a drink and I had a Coke, and we watched Howdy Doody. And that's a true story. And we walked home together, and there's guys that you just have to learn.
Yeah. The more people that know how to fight, the less fights they're going to get.
Sam Colt.
And, you know, it'd be great if every kid grew up learning jiu-jitsu almost like part of the school curriculum, because you're not going to be so angry. You're not going to be, you know, the bullies, there's going to be less of them. And if everybody's tough, you're very picky and choosy who you fight. Just like a local MMA event or like a local jiu-jitsu event, everybody in there, like 90% of the people in there, they're ready to fight. You're not going to go fighting. You know, unless it's a really bad deal.
When you go into one of those things and you're in it and you start eyeballing guys, you know, and then they're like, ooh, I hope it isn't him.
Yeah.
And
you know, you're drawn. Oh man, but that.
Yeah, I had an experience in fifth grade again. You know, later on there was a kid named Luke Lowe.
You remember?
Who was bullying me, and you know he always had his buddies with him.
Yeah.
And I was, my dad picked me up from football practice, and we were driving home, and he saw him walking on the side of the street by himself. And we were by North Boulder Park, and he said, "Isn't that Luke right there?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Get out and go handle it."
Yeah.
And and the kid was way bigger than me. You know, I was small, And I got out and stood in the sidewalk in front of him, and I was terrified. You know, I thought this kid was going to kick my ass. But when I confronted him one-on-one, he didn't want anything to do with me. Walked around me, and
Well,
and
you
that,
get your
know,
name called.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind
And
of.
you're a little guy?
You know, it was a turning point. Then, you know, the first time when I fought back, I beat all these kids up, and then this kid realizing that, like, when you confront these guys one-on-one without their buddies around, they really don't want it. They're trying to puff up their chest and look cool in front of the crowd, but when it comes down to fighting one-on-one on the street with nobody there, you know, not a lot of people want it, you know. And then it was a realization to me that, man, you got to stand up for yourself.
You're a big guy too. I mean, we're the little guys. You're a medium-sized guy. And Jonathan's a big guy. I mean, but you can't judge guys.
No, you can't. No, you definitely cannot. And what I appreciate about, and a question I have for you, because I like the anti-bullying. Our daughter in middle school, she's not the most athletic person, but she came to us and said she wanted to wrestle.
Great.
And I'm like, great. And I go, why is that? She goes, because I want to see if I can.
I love that.
And I appreciated then that she would have some defense techniques. The most proud, and she missed placing in the league by 1. She finished 4th. But the most proud I was of her, we were at this one meet. There was nobody in her class. So she ended up wrestling somebody 2 classes above her. Our poor girl, she was on her back the entire time. And every time I'd see her kind of look over, and she never got pinned. And I'm telling you, she was on her back the entire time. I've never been more proud of that loss than I was of some of her
it's
wins.
emotional, I can see.
So what can you talk about the off the mat character building that you see in these? Because I'm sure you come across kids, you go, I got my eye on this kid. He's got potential. This kid will never make it past here, but it's helping him in defining who he is and his confidence.
Well, we talk about, you know, 2 things. We have a samurai proverb that I repeat with the kids every day in practice, and that's fall 7, rise 8. And that embodies what we do.
Yeah,
and,
get back
you
up.
know, I tell them that's the secret to winning on the mats. That's the secret to winning in life. You never give up. You don't stop trying, and it's real hard to beat you. You know, all the guys that I went to started training with in L.A. in 2005, they were all in L.A. to be, you know, DJs and movie stars and all this stuff. Now they're all black belts, and now they're all whatever else they wanted to be because they don't give up. And it's that same attitude. If you just keep showing up and keep trying, it's amazing what happens.
That was one of Stanley's mottos when we were kids learning to box. Stanley said, every fighter goes down.
Yeah.
He said, the good ones get up.
That's what I like about jiu-jitsu is, like, nobody's at top and stays at top. Everybody can be beat.
Oh.
And so, like, when Hoist got beat, when the farm boy from Iowa rear naked choked him, like, beat him, Matt Hughes legitimately beat
He was something.
Hoist with jiu-jitsu. And I was at my instructor's house who learned from Hoist, and some of the guys I trained with were all at John Crouch's house. And I'm like, to me, I wasn't, oh my God, no. It's like, everybody's beatable. And, you know, that's one of the good things about this sport. You get to train all the time. And what do we do? If you're training with good people, we do that, and he stops. Yeah. And we get to go again and again and again. So you can get good. It's just keep showing up. Be too stupid to quit is all you got to do.
Come back to Jonathan. A lot of those guys that worked in pro wrestling, they were bar bouncers, they were football players, they were bodybuilders.
Bass player in a band. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh, for
That's
real.
funny.
Yeah, he was discovered in a band in Tampa.
Terry Bollea. You know, he was a bass player, but there was something about every one of those guys.
Charisma.
Is that it?
Yeah, charisma, show, and athletic ability, of course. Yeah. My favorite was the unbeatable was Anderson Silva when he got knocked out by Chris Weidman. He's doing a whole mocking thing, and he just turned on and goes, okay, pop.
Bang.
Eyes rolled back, and it was over. What I appreciate about UFC, it's therapy for me. When I come home and I'm pissed off, I watch other people beat the crap out of each other, and I feel much better at the end of the night.
See, and I
love that.
rolling is therapy for me. You know, when you train live, we call it rolling. Right. Hey, you want to roll? Right? We do. He has a great thing. Several times a week, he has open mats. Friday night, they call it 15-round Friday.
Yeah.
And so it's 15 5-minute rounds in a row where you just roll. That is therapy.
Yes, sir.
Come and watch.
Yeah, sure. Come drop in.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Try to make it the last Friday of the month because there's somebody upstairs DJing and we have the lights dim and it's like a a unique experience.
Last
for the whole
Friday.
section.
What are the addresses? I mean,
We're at 6161 West 44th Avenue in Wheat Ridge. That's 80033. We're right off I-70 in Harlan. If you're heading west on I-70,
Jonathan,
take
let's
the
go.
Harlan exit.
I would love to do that.
We'll go.
Yeah,
We'll go
last
watch
Friday
it.
of the
Right.
month we call it Rollin' Rave. We got DJs and lights and lasers, so it's a
Rock and wrestling.
Yes, sir.
It's a unique experience.
What do you do with Ronda Rousey? What's going to happen?
Well, that's another great example.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
She was invincible.
Oh, was she
And
till
then
Holly Holmes,
She met Holly Holmes' foot.
the preacher's daughter?
Yeah.
She lit her up. Now she's going to go up. She's
She's fighting Gina.
Yeah, she's fighting Gina.
Yeah.
You got a pick on this one?
Man, it's been so long
Is that
since
a
either
fight?
one of those.
Is that a
ladies-
fight
No,
or is
they're
that an
both-
exhibition?
Is that a work?
I mean,
They're both out,
Yeah.
they're not in their prime for sure.
Is it a
If-
work
if-
or a shoot?
I think it's a shoot. I'd be surprised if it was a work.
Yeah,
I don't
that
think-
would be so disrespectful.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
I mean,
still
there
are
are
competitors.
very few, in my opinion, there are very few works in MMA here in the States. I know it was different in Japan and Pride,
Well,
and there have been some
they-
some betting
yeah.
shenanigans
Oh, yeah,
happening. Again, I think that's because the fighters are making such poor money. If
Well, they
if
always
you
said
got
the
opportunity
Yakuza.
to-
Did you ever go to Japan with?
No, the egg
No.
dome.
No.
Know that.
No, I saw the egg dome. I
I
mean,
did a lot of Europe stuff, but I didn't make. And that was a big disappointment personally, was to not make it to Japan.
if half of those stories are true,
Oh yeah.
the Yakuza loved criminals.
I mean, I was fighting on the card where Ken Shamrock was supposed to fight Kimbo Slice in Florida. I was on that same card, and the rumor has it that Ken found out how much Kimbo was getting paid.
I heard that story too.
backstage,
Yeah.
and said, "I'm not fighting him unless you match the
Same money.
And they said, "What do you mean you're not fighting him? You already weighed in. You're getting ready to go." He's a pro wrestler. Cuts himself backstage, so
Juices.
that then
Yeah.
so then he can't fight.
Yeah.
And then they call Seth Petrozelli off the undercard, and they say,
You're fighting.
go out
You're
and
in.
fight this guy. Yeah.
The first time I ever saw them go to the Blade, and it was because the first time I had the bell and I had the microphone for the ring, and I see the ref take the blade out of his top pocket and put it on the canvas and slide it over because they're going to juice. And I said, the ref's in on it.
That sounds like my grandfather. He thought total believer. Thought it was real.
I grew up marking, but
Hey, I got a question for you in that regard too. Going back to the kids, I really love that you've got a heart for the kids and raising them up this way. Is there a phrase, the blue belt blues or whatever? But what do you also talk to a kid when he's on the verge of giving up? How do you inspire? And it's always a crossroads. And as Yogi Berra says, when you come to a
Take
fork
it.
in the road, take it.
take it, yeah.
How do
Yeah,
you encourage
well,
kids
we've-
when they're at the verge of wanting to quit?
I mean, we got a mantra: I do the thing that is hard to do, and the power comes. And that's it.
That's
You know,
all.
it's
That's all Asian stuff.
It's
man.
the belief
Yeah.
that that when you take action, that the universe supports that action. Terrence McKenna has an amazing quote. I could pull it up on my phone, but it's just the idea that when you choose to take action, that the universe supports that action, that it doesn't grind you under, that it lifts you up.
Wow.
He says that's what these philosophers that really mattered, who really touched the alchemical gold, that's what they understood.
If
That's the shamanic dance in
those
the waterfall.
those early fighters, the early boxers, I love reading the history of those guys. And like when we say toe the line, that's where that came from.
It's just about, it's about trying. Trying is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
It's not about winning. Oh,
They
Your 710 KNUS forecast on this Saturday, sunny and warm, highs around 90. A few clouds tonight and breezy, lows down to 50. Quite a bit cooler for Sunday, highs near 70 with strong winds up to 25 miles per hour. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
I didn't even know. I was so wrapped up in the show that I was not paying attention to the break, with apologies. 710 KNUS, this is one of those, this isn't a radio show. This is four guys sitting in a bar telling stories. But, oh, my heavens, these guests are great. To Connor and to Briscoe and, of course, the one and only, to Jonathan Flora, thank you. The ski season is really coming to an end, so it's a great time to make deals. The ski resorts are in full swing, and if you're still rocking gear from a decade ago, you're missing out. And it's time for an upgrade. There's only one place to go. It's Larson Ski and Sport. John Marriott and the guys have the newest inventory, and trust me, service is incredible. If you're looking to buy new equipment to open next year with, this is the great time. They got everything you need, from top-tier performance skis and boards to jackets and apparel and all the name brands. And whether you're a downhill demon, a powder hound, or Larson's will fit you perfectly. Forget those big box stores. The Larson staff offers expertise that you need, incredible value. Stop in today and ask for John and tell him that Peter Boyles sent you. You find him at the big wooden building just south of I-70 on Kipling. So you're westbound on I-70, get off on the Kipling exit, come down the ramp, make a left, come under I-70. When you come out, look to the west, look to your right, and you will see a big box store. It's Larson Ski and Sport. 7 days a week, get your gear, get to the mountains, and then have the great rest of the season. Our friends, Larson Ski and Sport, south of I-70 on Kipling. Call 303-423-0654, 303-423-0654, or visit Larsonsport, Larson Sport.com, 303-423-0654, or larsonsport.com. This is a show that I could do again next Saturday. It's so good. It started with talking about, there's a guy out there floating around that's claiming rank in Jiu Jitsu, and Briscoe and I have talked, but we've never met. And of course, Jonathan, who worked for Vince in the WWE, WWF, and then Briscoe is kind enough to bring Connor, who is his instructor at 10th Planet Denver, 10th Planet Longmont. And the number is 720-443-0651, 720-443-0651. And you take little kids and...
Yeah, we start them as young as 3.5. And, I think my oldest practitioner is 74 that's on the mats with us. So, all ages. I say jiu-jitsu is the best game in the world because, unlike when I was a kid, you had to enter up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, start to get a million guys. In jiu-jitsu, you just tap. You got another guy. You get another life. The graphics are great.
Why do you think, and this is for Briscoe as well, all of these, boxing, stand-up boxing is Western European, in this country and, of course, in Europe. That the kicking, striking, strangling, whatever you want to call them, arts or methods come out of Asia. Why do you, I've often thought about that. Why, what the culture did to bring what to whom, it's a real interesting question. Some of it has to do with the religion. Some of it has to do with whatever the mythology is about the Shaolin, or what went to Okinawa, what went to Japan, all those stories. Start with you, Connor. Why do you think that is what it is?
Why do I think that the striking arts are...
Yeah, or what you do, or because you're striking art too.
Well, yeah, jiu-jitsu is grappling. That's what we were talking about is why it's the best choice for folks when they're trying to get their kids involved, is because if a jiu-jitsu kid is dealing with a bully at school, they're going to tackle him, they're going to control him, they're going to hold him, they're not going to punch him in the face. They can make that decision to punch him in the face, but the reason it's called the gentle art is because it teaches control first, right? It's like, I can control you, I can control the distance, I can control whether you can strike if I choose to strike. Where in karate, it's a striking art that, it's like if all you got is a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah, no, it's true. And the karate guys allegedly, they came out of China. And they went to Okinawa, and the Okinawans practiced against the samurai because Japan ran the show.
Yeah.
And then Funakoshi takes it to the emperor, to show the emperor what they got. Why? How, I guess, is a better question. Briscoe, you got a thought on that?
You're asking, how is it that, like, in these areas of the world, they were more into punch and kicking.
Yeah.
These areas that grapple get way closer.
Right. Because India and Pakistan create great wrestlers. People don't know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, in India, that's where Pancrase started.
That's right.
And that art, from what, my first martial art instructor, he had like a crazy combination of things, but how he explained it, and I'm going to hope he was accurate. Pancrase, in India, one hand, you had a brass or some sort of metal ring, and the other hand was to grapple. So it was a combination.
Yes.
You get a hold of them, and then,
yes.
I don't know if they were killing each other, but when you've got a metal thing in your hand, you're doing way more damage than a Mike Tyson fist, right? So,
but Tyson's a great
cultures,
example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, certain cultures, I think it is. It's like the distance thing. And we both grew up wrestling, so like, I think naturally we like jiu-jitsu, where I'm sure some people see it and they're like, I'm not letting somebody get that frickin' close to me. But then in a fight, if that guy knows jiu-jitsu, you ain't got a choice.
No, you don't. No.
Yeah, I always tell people, people, what's the best martial art for self-defense?
Yeah.
Bottom line is, learning to strike for a mixed martial arts competition is a whole different thing, where somebody's trying to hit me and then get out of range. If we're in a street altercation, or if we're in a self-defense situation, if I can walk away, we're not in a fight. So if you're going to stop me from walking away, you've got to be moving forward towards me. You got to be attacking me. If you come at me, I'm going to be able to grab you. I mean, it's in high school. I used to get into fights with kids, and they'd say, "Are you just going to wrestle?" And I'd say, "Well, I'll punch you a couple times if it makes you feel better."
I remember the people saying that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's the early UFCs.
But even like somebody put on the wall here, how about Kung Fu? This Kung Fu allegedly comes out of Shaolin. And Bruce Lee and
So
Yip Man.
I
And
think all of these arts work if they're trained properly.
thank you.
And you know, Kung Fu is a circular style. There are linear styles and there are circular styles, and they both have strengths and weaknesses. And the bottom line is that if you train a style hard, meaning with live sparring, realistic action, if you're really doing it, I think all of these arts have techniques that work well. But there's
I remember when Bruce Lee hit, when he, boom, and he was on the Green Hornet.
Yeah, with his mask on.
modern mixed martial arts just takes the best attributes or the best techniques from all of these styles and makes them work together. It's like a bladed boxing stance is beautiful because I'm hard to hit, but it leaves my legs completely exposed.
What do you do
A
with
low
the What do you
kick
do with the guy
destroys a boxer.
like Tyson? What do you? I mean,
You become his friend.
oh,
You don't
absolutely.
fight. You do not fight that dude.
No, when the first time I saw him, I thought he's going to be champion for a long time.
That guy's amazing. I love his podcast, how honest he gets. Because there's a lot of times when he's talking, he's like, "Oh, the verge of crying," because he's telling a story. And
What a life!
lions, tigers are scared of that guy, but he's still vulnerable. But yeah, that's
Fighters are sensitive.
Yeah?
You got to be.
Oh,
You got to
yeah.
be sensitive to the energy. You got to, fighters are some of the most sensitive people on the planet.
I did a television show for years, and I spent an hour with Jake LaMotta, sitting like me and you, and actually and then we went out and afterward and talked, and he was his ex-wife was in Playboy, the film was out, Scorsese had made
De Niro.
and I asked him, and he was funny because he would do stand-up stuff, but he knew Rocky Graziano in New York, and you had to have seen him, and I can't do his voice, but he was sitting there. I said, "What about growing up and everything?" And it was legit. He was and he stole the name. It was a local wine, was Graziano wine, and he was really Rocky Balboa.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like the real story behind Rocky Balboa.
And he's AWOL, and he's hiding, and he's taking fights for money, and the water bottle that they're using during the rounds is taped up. It's Graziano wine. And they said, "What's your name?" He said, "Graziano." That's how he became.
Oh my God.
That's the story he told me. And so he tells me, he said, "Me and Rock." And he said, "Me and Rock." And he said, "We was thieves, thieves." He said, "We was thieves." And he said, "But we was educated thieves." And I'm buying. I'm his straight man. I'm going, "What?" He said, "We only stole what began with the letter A." Jonathan. And I said, he goes, "A bicycle,
A car.
a dozen eggs," and he went,
That's
but he
funny.
told, then he told me about going in the tank. He went in the tank on the Fox fight, and he told that, and he's Jonathan, Carbo was the guy that ran. He was a Gambino or somebody. He ran all the boxing, and he said he went in the tank for the fight and he fought Tony Zale, I think, and then he fought Ray, and he fought Ray after that, who was my idol, was Ray Robinson, and I asked him about fighting Ray, and he said, "It's a wonder." He said, "I got so much sugar, it's a wonder I ain't got no diabetes," because he fought Ray.
Like 3 times.
So more than that.
Yeah.
I think he fought Ray. But I said to him, in Raging Bull, and when he's all cut up and Ray's cut him up, and he screamed at him, he said, "You didn't knock me down, Ray." And I said, "Did you say that?" He said, "I did." When he's standing there and Sugar takes him for the whatever. He beat Sugar once, but the rest of the time he lost the fights. And Sugar Ray's real name was Walker Smith, and he had changed his name to be Sugar Ray. But he said he was standing there, and I think Scorsese captures it, and he said, his pride was, "You didn't knock me down," and he was wonderful to talk to, and he was better when the cameras were off.
Yeah, like a lot of people probably are.
Yeah. We sat and he talked about organized crime. He talked about. I said, "Did you like the movie?" And he said, "Yeah, you can almost do them."
I remember my dad took me and one of my brothers to that, and I was in elementary school, and the F-bombs dropping every half a second. My dad he didn't leave, like we stayed for the movie, but
oh sure.
And my dad's
I watch it when it's on now.
Mad.
Yeah, when that movie's on now. Okay, we're gonna watch it now.
Yeah, one of my other favorite boxing movies, and Connor kind of reminded me of what you're fighting for, is Cinderella Man. With Jimmy Braddock. And he's about to go in to fight Max Schnell, who's killed people in the ring. And they go, "What are you fighting for? Why are you doing this?" He goes, "Milk."
Yeah. No, he's feeding his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's legit.
Coming out of the Depression.
Those guys, And when I read the history of a lot of that kind of stuff, and we were talking about the history of the underclass, but they would soak their hands in walnut brine. They didn't wear gloves, and they would soak their hands to toughen their skin, and then
I heard gasoline.
Walnut brine, and then their shoes had 3 toes. They were boots, but they would have 3 toes, and a round was a knockdown. And so if I tagged you 30 seconds in, you went down on one knee, that's a round. And that's why you would get 80 round fights, and they were illegal, and they'd fight on the barges. And so towing the line. And so today, when I remember you towed a line, well, that meant you had to come out and put that cleat on the line in the dirt. And if you couldn't do it, the fight was over. Short of that,
Anything goes.
Anything went. Imagine until the Marquess of Queensberry comes along. And they
Changed the rules.
A little bit.
Even in the Smashing Machine, it was interesting because they're going back to the earlier days. Headbutts, and you could knee people while they were down. You could hold the back of their head,
or they would
and
cover
knee
their
them on the
mouths,
ground.
cover their muzzles, and
eye gouging, I think, as well.
You can still cover their mouth.
You can still do that. Okay.
No fingers in any orifices, no single joint.
But you can snuff a guy.
Yeah, you can cover it.
I didn't know you could still do that.
Some of the jiu-jitsu competitions, do they allow? They call that muffler, or it's just called a muffler. People will do that.
The enchilada. There's a lot of names for it.
And that was like, and pro wrestling too. I mean, it's better now than it was when I marked as a kid. I mean, they were typical stuff, but talk about pro wrestling. How's changed all that been? And those guys have to fight every night.
Well, yeah, and something you said earlier, even when I was there with the Vincent McMahon days and taking over cable TV, we had the same rule. It didn't happen until it happened on TV.
Oh.
So you go to all these smaller cities, exact same match, but then every 6th week we would be on national. We do our televised events that would go for the next 6 weeks. Then when that same match happened on TV, that's when the strap was handed over.
Yes.
But I think in watching some of the wrestling now, and it was progressing then, they're just so athletic now.
Oh.
I mean, the women that are in there, the guys that are in there, it used to be brawn, chiseled bodies, and still doing some pretty athletic stuff coming off the top rope and all that. What they're doing now is ridiculous. Again, it's Olympic gymnastic. I don't mean to belittle Olympic gymnasts.
No.
But these guys are massive men doing some pretty phenomenal stuff, and they do it every single night. And they're beat up. They're blowing out knees, they're cracking ribs, and there are some guys that get in the ring. They don't like each other. You're going to win, but you're going to feel it.
Well, that's the hard way, right?
Exactly.
We're coming right back. Hang on, a show I've wanted to do, and this is a winner. 710 KNUS. Talking tunes, man. My boy. Adam, go get him. 710 KNUS on a absolutely perfect Saturday. This show is, when I don't remember that many shows anymore, and I certainly don't keep them, I'll keep this one. 710 KNUS. The only other show I kept was James Brown. I kept JB. We did a radio show together, and as I said, the only request they had was call him Mr. Brown. And I said, I would call him Mr. Brown or not. Yeah. And he was wonderful. It was a great interview, and then he shot his wife's coat.
What's he the godfather of?
Soul.
He is.
No, listen. he was, I mean, I could introduce him. I always said, Mr. Brown, I can introduce you. You're ready for the hardest maker, the hardest working man in show business today. Mr. Please, Mr. Try Me, Mr. You Got the Power, Mr. Night Train himself, Soul Brother #1 from Augusta, Georgia. And he said, you can do it. And I said,
the very beginning of that, ladies and gentlemen, there's 7 wonders in the world. You are about to witness the 8th.
That's 8th wonder of the world. And that was his cousin. Remember the guy put the capes on him? And when he come out, and they'd stagger up and put the capes and pull the cape off. That was his cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's the man.
Oh, so
he's the man.
Maceo Parker played sax, and they just tore it apart. No, but let me do this. Capitalist Law. My friends, Dan Capitalist Law, if you want your case to be taken seriously, I love that you knew the first part of that.
Oh, yeah.
You ready for the, man. Yeah, James Brown. Choose a law firm that is taken seriously. Dan Capitalist Law is taken seriously. Dan Capitalist Law, the real trial firm, provides the truth when the insurance carrier does not pay all that it should in an out-of-court settlement. Danny did it for our family. Dan Capitalist, the only attorney in Colorado history to win 11 straight 7-figure jury verdicts, including a record $205 million jury verdict in a wrongful death case, largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. Dan Capitalist Law, serious firm for serious cases, accepting righteous injury and death cases on percentage fee basis. He is the man. There's no upfront fees. There's no charge for the initial consultation. Dan Capitalist has offices now in Denver, Greeley, Loveland, and Fort Collins. If you want your case to be taken seriously, call Dan, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancapitalistlaw.com, Capitalist, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. I want to, one question with Jonathan. What was, like, in all the stuff that you did working pros, what was the story that most, and I don't know if we can tell it on the air or not, but
Probably not.
no, probably not. What was the best or the most you pick story you want to tell about pro wrestling?
Well, again, you talk about the one name names.
Yeah.
Vince.
That's
the
all.
other was Boss, and that was Andre. The Giant.
Yeah.
And being able to have drinks with him in Boston that one night, that first night, was just really something special.
Did he tell stories?
He would tell stories, but he was a tired guy.
Yeah.
And again, when you're that size, your life is very unique.
How big was he when you were with
Well,
him?
he was built at
'Cause he never quit growing, did he?
7'4",
Yeah.
525 pounds.
Yeah.
And if that's an exaggeration, he was 7'2", 510
Okay,
pounds.
all right, yeah.
He was a massive man. And just be able to have conversations with these guys, like when I get around Medal of Honor recipients too.
Yeah.
When these guys that are legends in whatever sport
These
or
guys,
whatever,
yeah.
whatever channel of life that you have, just sit and listen. Just let your life become richer by hearing their personal journeys, their stories. Wow. But one of what you guys had talked about earlier, so where Andre would stay pretty much by himself in his own hotel, he was taken care of. The other guys would be in hotels. They show up, they get off the plane, go to the gym, go to the venue, go to the hotel, get up, get on a plane. So they'll be in bars. It's amazing how many guys want to come up to
fight
them
them
and be the guy that said, I smacked Brutus Beefcake, or I yanked on Hillbilly Jim's beard. These guys end up on the floor right away. But it's always an interesting story that these guys want to challenge, and often we kind of became unofficial security, because it's going to be in the paper.
Right.
Brutus Beefcake hit a guy in what's bar.
Yeah,
Do
people
you find
wanted to
that
fight
in
them,
your
yeah.
world as well, that there's the one that wants to come up and go, I smacked a world champ or I smacked a league weight champ?
I'm not a world champ yet, so I don't have to.
Okay, bronze medalist.
You know what I found is before I was confident in my ability to fight, I got into a lot of fights because I was scared. And bullies, people like that are looking for a fear response. They're looking to feel that energy from the other person when they're scared. And that's why they're bullying them, is to steal your energy in that way. And once I wasn't worried anymore, those fights stopped happening.
See?
You know, the conversation would still happen at the bar. You know, I don't drink anymore. I don't go to bars. But when I did, you know, a conversation would start where somebody's trying to get into it, and it would generally end with them watching YouTube videos of my fights and buying me drinks. You know,
There you go.
when, you know, people are looking for fear. And, okay, you want to fight? All right, can I finish my drink, or you want to do it right now? You want to do it on the grass or in here on the hard floor?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and they're not
That's
getting
not
the
a normal response.
No,
yeah.
that's the bass route.
they're not getting the
Yeah.
response that they want. It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
No, there's
then-
They have to pivot.
yeah, then they start to think, oh, maybe I'm asking the wrong questions here.
The wrong guy.
Right.
Briscoe. What's yours favorite?
Say it again. Tell me your question.
Well, you have people just
One
want to
story
come up
that
and
you tell.
challenge.
Yeah.
So in their life, whatever their life might be, they can go, "Oh yeah, I confronted so and so, or I took out so and so."
I haven't had many like people. I haven't had trouble. The thing that's funny, so Grudge.
Because you have a great smile.
Grudge
Disarm 'em.
used
Well,
to
and you
be,
can see his ears.
and that's part of it. Like that you know, people, people be like,
Nowadays, they know.
where did you fight, or where did you wrestle? And I'll be like, oh well, I survived wrestling, that didn't happen, but jiu-jitsu did it to me. But the funny story is, Trevor used to have a gym called Grudge. Before that, it was called TSKO. Trevor Whitman's a pretty famous guy. Justin Gaethje's under him. Rose trained under him for a while. His gym used to be not far from, his is at 44th and Harlem. TSKO used to be at 44th and Wadsworth in a strip mall that had a bar, a liquor store, and in the middle was his gym. And that's when Shane Carwin was fighting.
Ooh.
He's like, and Trevor's a very humorous person, goofy, humorous guy. He's like, man, when they got out of that location, he's like, man, don't ever have your gym next to a bar and a freaking liquor store. Because they'd have people come in like, hey, who's this? And I guess the realistic weird thing that would happen, because Trevor, pros would be there. So there's times I'd go there, GSP's in the ring.
Yeah.
And that word would get out. And local fighters would come in like, I want to spar with GSP. And it's like, you ain't freaking sparring with GSP, dude. And, that's just one name. Keith Jardine, GSP. Oh, who's the black guy that was from that? Rashad would be there. There was a time Dwayne hurt Rashad, and Rashad couldn't fight. Dwayne Ludwig, one of the local guys. So the story goes. Like, Rashad pissed him off during sparring, and Dwayne's good. Dwayne is an excellent striker, and he messed him up to where Rashad had to miss a fight.
Dwayne's world class. Dwayne was teaching me kickboxing when I first started. Boss Rutan got me to go fight for his team, the Anacondas, in the IFL, and had Dwayne working with me on strike, and I was working with Dwayne on his wrestling. And Dwayne, I guess, attributes his fastest UFC knockout to me in a way, because when we were training at the Bomb Squad on Santa Monica Boulevard in LA, and I guess we had an exchange where he landed on his shoulder, and so he had a bum shoulder going into that fight, so he knew he only had one arm. And so that 7-second knockout.
Here's the funny thing. When I visited him last week, he had a bum shoulder.
We got a minute.
Yeah.
Jonathan and I will be back. Hopefully his wife will be with us next week. 10th Planet Denver, 10th Planet Longmont. Call this number, 720-443-0651, 720-443-0651. If you want you or your children or anybody, grandkids, to get into this, it is just amazing. I need to thank you for just a wonderful show.
Thanks for having me.
For me, and
You
for
bet, thank
Jonathan,
you.
it was like, I don't know about anybody else, but I liked it.
Yeah.
One of those shows.
Well, the phones have been lit up, so obviously you've gotten a big
yeah.
response.
Yeah,
and boy,
everybody-
I would cast you in a heartbeat. Your
Yeah.
voice is awesome.
Yeah, you got that.
Thank you, brother.
Everybody, Adam, thank you. You made this one work too. We'll do it again next Saturday. Take care of yourselves. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Thanks for your time.